Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome live with me and with Andreas, our CEO. Hi, Andreas. How are you doing today?
Hi, Sylvie. I'm good. As always, really excited for our conversation.
Perfect. Okay, so perhaps we give people a couple of minutes or a couple of seconds to join us. I already see that there is someone online. Perhaps you can let us know where are you following us from. It's always interesting to see different people from all over the world following us. So today we're here with Andreas. We are going to, let's say, go back in time to the beginning of magicplan, because I know that a lot of people are using magicplan since many, many years, but some others are new. So perhaps there's something interesting that we can all learn today from Andreas. So I would say, let's go back in time, Andreas, to 2011. And yeah, tell me.
Yeah, well, also, because we are doing this game, I think almost for the third time now, let's go back in time. And obviously, we always feel it's valuable to understand our story for what we want to talk about today, right? But we don't want to bore you with the history. What we actually want to talk about is we want to talk about the future.
Yes,
So,
correct.
we probably should mention that ahead. We want to excite you about 2024 new era of magicplan. However, we feel that it is a nice behind the scenes look if we give you a little historical setup, right?
Correct.
So that's why we go back in time once again. When has that all started, and which conclusions are we drawing
Yeah,
out of
because
this
it's
for
always
today
interesting
and going
to see.
forward?
Yes, correct. And it's interesting to see, let's say, the evolution. But I stop you 1 second. We have RB Design Bytes from San Diego. Then we have Fusion BIM from South Africa. Amazing. And Wealthy and Healthy Word. I hope I pronounced it correct. Shannon from Florida. Nice. I hope it's sunny somewhere because here it's cloudy.
Cool. Hello, everyone.
Okay, great. So, Andreas, let's go back in time, as I was mentioning, to 2011, and I let you talk a bit about the legacy of magicplan.
Well, basically, I want to tell one story that really always excited me. So, we've been around since 2011. magicplan has been and always and still is like a mobile solution to do floor plans in the field instantly. And that's what we set out to do in 2011, and what was already working back then, albeit with different technology. And there was one fun conversation between the founders, which was, okay, we built this app that is like next generation floor plan creation, camera based video feed, yada, yada, yada. And app magicplan was back in the day listed as a utility. And the top competing apps for utilities in 2011 were flashlight apps. So back then, your phone couldn't do a flashlight, so that there were specific apps for doing a flashlight. And there was one sentence that stuck in my mind, like, okay, those flashlight apps, they are virtually 3 lines of code. And comparing this with, okay, you do something really complicated and get a floor plan of your apartment, that was like an inside joke back in the day. And we wanted to anchor our conversation a little bit in that, because like, as everyone knows, the flashlight function became something that your phone could pretty much do instantly and out of the box pretty soon thereafter. But it was quite some time still, like a good 10 years, that we were really pushing the boundaries on this floor plan creation. And that is what we like fully focused on for, let's say the first 10 and a bit years of our evolution. And that's something where we have seen changes, and we have seen that we were having the same fate as the flashlight apps, that this is becoming more normal. But up until now, that has kept us really busy in terms of our own development team, in terms of our research team. And that is where we've seen in the past, I think, 2 to 5 years. So actually starting in 2017, we've seen, okay, some of that functionality and features are becoming more commonplace. And now basically since about last year, like this core functionality of ours that you can do a floor plan is something that is less of a differentiator and more something that, at least with your iOS Pro devices, with the inclusion of LiDAR, that is like one of those core features that your phones are having and are going to get. Yeah, and basically this is which brought us to say, okay, we basically knew that this was on the horizon, but we never knew when it was. I talked about that I think 2 sessions back. And so
we said that like October 2020, right? When Apple came out with the first LiDAR devices.
Yeah, and like those LiDAR devices, they kind of like had this measurement element in it, but not necessarily the drawing element, but it hinted towards that, okay, even this functionality around the floor plan is something that is on the horizon, right? And for a variety of reasons, I think we've talked in an earlier video about it, and we're for sure going to talk about it in a future video, but that's not what we want to focus on today. So why am I telling you this? Because about a year ago, we said, okay, this is on the horizon. We have grown our great customer base. We have seen a variety of use cases. And basically at that point, we took a decision to say, we can't fully focus on that like fancy and sexy stuff, if you will, of the AR capture and the AI. But we said, to be honest, like we might have focused so hard on pushing the innovation game that we kind of left behind and are lacking a little bit in other core functionalities, which our users have become accustomed to over the last 10 years. So we said we basically need to do some really heavy lifting on the core foundations of our product to become like a super modern and up-to-date app. And yeah, that is what we've spent pretty much the last year on, and what we are still spending it on. And that's what we want to talk about today even more, because this should kind of kick it off, that we are saying, hey, there is a new era of magicplan coming up later this year. We are heading for or aiming for a launch in summer. And we want to start the discussions with our customer base, with our users today, and get them a little bit excited about it, and also give you a hint of what's to come, and maybe tease you into becoming one of our beta testers, which is, again, something that we are scheduling to start in the coming weeks.
Okay, so before we go, let's say, deeper into this topic, I have 2 questions for you, Andreas, from Shannon. So,
Yeah.
so this is my AI making the balloons. Okay, the first question here. When do you think we will be able to use Android phones instead of Apple?
I mean, for this core functionality of the capture, Shannon, to create your floor plan, that is something that unfortunately I can't answer. Like in the past, we have seen Android and Apple being really in sync. So with ARKit that was launched, AR Core was launched. So as like the fundamental infrastructure beneath it. But since Apple released like the LiDAR capabilities of those Pro devices, there have been no really significant announcements of neither Android nor any of the phone manufacturers to offer anything competing. And I mean, this is the downside of what I was just talking about. We are now kind of focusing more on these cutting edge technologies that are out there and are less relying on ourselves to push this push this development further. So Shannon, I can't give you an answer, and I have to admit that we are dependent on kind of like that platform selection that we have there. Like my question is, what's holding you back of using an iOS device?
Okay, so now I read you also the second question, because there is always like a 20-second delay. So I think your answer is coming. Correct. Second question. Could you let us know if you're going to be able to scope outside of homes, buildings?
So with the outside, I assume you mean the exterior details, like exterior of walls, exterior roofs, and so on and so forth. That is also not something which I can tell you any kind of positive note. For now, that is not on our roadmap that we really extend the product to the exterior of a home.
Okay. In the meantime, Shannon says, I have one, but just like Android better and prefer Android.
Yeah. That is like, I mean, that's the, I guess, most common answer. I would almost say it's like an ideological choice. But I feel with that comes that like in this domain, the Android devices don't offer the same set of capabilities. So we can't make up for that.
Okay.
That is basically the race that we were in for the past 10 years. And we try to win that race, but as a like smallish scale company, we've been outbid, so or outrun. We can't catch up on that on our own. We are more reliant on some of the bigger players in the industry. I can't speak for them.
But Shannon, you can try both, because I also use, like, privately, I have Android, and for work I use iOS. So make a test, I would say. Then we have a question from RB for you, Andreas. Will you make the beta features permanent in magicplan after the testing period?
That is 100% our plan, yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I would say in the meantime, okay, thank you for your answers. You're welcome. If you have other questions, write them down in the live section. We will answer them all. But if we want to go, let's say, a bit deeper into this innovation phase of magicplan, Andreas. So we said we have been working a lot during the last year about, let's say, launching this new, let's say, version of the app. What would you like to add?
Yeah, so what are the key highlights that I think are needed by our user base, but what also do excite me? So the main component of all of this was like data synchronization. So the architecture to have the data synchronized across all your devices, across kind of your browser-based access, your mobile access, that is the key component And that is like the number one point where I think we are now launching a new era where some of those topics that have been a little bit of a nuisance in the past, we are finally able to overcome them. So basically, if you make a change on any of your interfaces, any of your devices, they are instantly synced throughout all of your other devices. And that is something that, like, I admit, it has become standard, and like we want to follow that standard. And that is something that we are going to support going forward. Then one other topic, you are pulling up the new kind of like project screen. We have recognized that our user base is using magicplan as much more than just a floor plan, and that it ties into like diverse workflows. And to support those workflows, we basically have reworked our architecture and database structure to be more flexible, right? We were really tied down to some of the elements there. And now we can store documents, we can store PDFs, we can be more flexible in the handling of photos. We will also be able to handle videos and all of that in your project scope. And that is something which was also a big feedback, or also one of the points where some users who have really large photo documentations or had the repeated ask of, hey, can we add videos? That was one of those key elements where we said, yeah, we understand your need, but where we struggled to follow through that in the past. And that is, I think, one of the key components that we a lot more adaptable in the context of photos, videos, and other documents that you want to include with your project.
Yes, also because people want to do everything in once, because no one wants to waste time. So it's a better, a quicker way to do that.
Yeah. And I mean, like, one of the key features I always tell and I always showcase is, hey, a photo taken in a location with a kind of like point of view. This is the literal, a picture tells more than 1,000 words. And we want to support that even better and make the navigation and finding and searching and collecting this data even quicker. So this is one huge element that comes with our heavy lifting, as I said, that the whole data and file handling is becoming a lot easier. And with that also, we took that opportunity to say, okay, we want to launch a new camera app, if you so will, so that you can make annotations. If we go back to the flashlight app, basically now we also allow you to use your camera as a flashlight while you're doing documentation. That is something that we've talked about a lot with many customers, especially in the renovation and restoration industry, either because you don't have light in the whole apartment or because you don't have light at that like void or hidden thing that you want to showcase. And this like flashlight functionality during your camera usage is something that's super small, right? But super helpful. I mean, that is the story from 2011. There was multiple flashlight apps out there, 3 lines of code, super easy, but just so damn powerful and useful. So that is something that now kind of like during your pictures, you can also kind of have that permanent flashlight mode. And that is beneficial in some instances, and we want to support those instances. And that is...
if you think about, I don't know who does fire damages, and if there are major fire damages and the room is completely dark or black, let's say, then it's super useful to have an extra light because you cannot see the corners perhaps. So
yeah, exactly. So those are some use cases that we want to support better. file chaos, I mentioned that was the early one. Along with the handling of pictures and videos comes also a better handling of files. The files one wants to add to a project. So like if there's anything, like any added documents, anything to sign, any standard operating procedure that you want to kind of like put your check mark on, you just can collate them to one project in magicplan. That was something which was also requested quite a bit, and which should be helpful, and which we are going to support going forward.
Yeah. And I have a question for you, Andreas, from Francois. I'm keen to know more detail about how the IFC export is generated. Reason, wall geometry is important to my BIM software in a weird way.
Okay. So I'm not going to be able to explain that to you in detail right now. But that is something that we are really happy to investigate together. So if you send me or anyone from the support team a sample file, support at magicplan, we are interested to look into this. I can give you some hints, but I think it's going to be more helpful if we look at this in a specific manner. Like in short, we are using the 2D to do a 3D and use the 3D to do the IFC. So there's like several translation steps, and depending on what you're referencing, I can imagine that there might be some confusions, and we have some experience with that, but please reach out to one of our team members so that we can investigate it. I can give you a more specific answer.
Yes, because it says also, is that something we can work on in the beta?
That's not exactly the scope of this beta. So that is something that we can work on right now already. We don't need to hold back.
Okay, I also have another question from RB. I upgraded to iPhone 15 Pro. I'm amazed by the accuracy and performance of LiDAR scan. I will not be going back to the laser scan as my primary measuring device. Okay, this was awesome. A compliment, not a question.
No, and I mean, we share and have that same experience. We also know that there are some kinks there that need to be ironed out, but like, that's the way forward, and that is so fast, so accurate, so detailed. We are really convinced that this is the way to go. We are happy you're experiencing it. This is really what we've been working on since 2011. So we are glad and happy that we are living in that reality right now.
Perfect. So we left our page here with say goodbye to file chaos, but we also have something new, and it is our brand new estimator. Voila. Andreas, would you like to add some words here? We will talk about it again in the future, don't worry, but would you like to introduce it?
Sure. I mean, along the lines, we have basically made to be honest, we followed the comments from our users and say, hey, give me an estimator that I can use on my desktop. And we acknowledged that. And so we built a brand new estimator that we are going to launch for your desktop. So you can have your field team out there doing your measurements, doing your plan, doing your photo documentation, basically send it back, or as I mentioned, sync is instant, have the data in your back office, and then kicking off your estimating process there. We incorporated many new features. As you mentioned, we need to have multiple sessions on this alone, so I can only tease it today. but we are launching this brand new estimator in combination with this new era of magicplan, being able to do that work on your desktop, be a bit more nuanced, detailed in terms of calculation. I think that is a huge benefit, and that is also something that we are really excited about, because like the new and super high precision measuring plus this estimator, that should really speed up your processes, and kind of like that's what got us starting a couple of years back.
Yep. And here we have fantastic. How do we sign up for the beta? Should I answer? Or would you like to answer?
No, you just need to scroll down, and then we need to publish that link. So with that session, we basically want to launch our information campaign around what we have in store for you coming up. We have basically put together that small landing page, which is going to grow in scope going forward. We're going to add more features, give you more detail, give you a little bit of an onboarding and training already. And if you want to be one of the first to experience that, please join the waitlist. As said, in a couple of weeks, we are ready to kick off the beta. And if you want to be one of the first to experience this, please leave us your email here. And
just sorry that I interrupt you. I will put the link to this exact page here to join the waiting list under the live video. So once we finish our live, I will pin the first comment, and then you can go through the link there. Because if I put it now in the comments in the live section, then it will not be clickable. So I will put it under the live once we're done.
Good.
Okay. Jennifer says, super excited for the new estimator.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Then we have a question. Does it only work on the desktop?
That's Shannon again. I mean, on this one, we really kind of try to listen to all the different remarks, and it grew quite big, let's say. So the first version we are going to launch on the desktop. And as soon as we have the initial user feedback on kind of like what is needed most, what works, where we've received the most comments, and then we are going to tidy it up and make it available on your mobile device as well.
Yep. I mean, if you log into the cloud on your tablet, you will be able to use the estimator from there, but still not from the app, from the cloud.
Yeah, and I mean, in terms of communication, like we have heard many people ask for, can I use it on my desktop? That's what we try to achieve right now. Nevertheless, like the number one person who's committed to mobile work is me. So we want to bring that to your mobile device as well. But we want to have one first go on desktop, have the conversation, set everyone up who wants to use it, and then, as said, tidy it up and launch it on mobile.
Yeah. Then I have also a question for you, Andreas, from RB. Does magicplan have a lot of architects or design professionals using the tool to generate as-built drawings?
Yeah, I mean, like from our point of view, it's always used for like initial scope of work, and then basically as a handover documentation once you complete a project. So that will be my definition of like an as-built. On the other hand, I mean, you could also say, okay, on an initial site visit, you have a plan from 20 years ago, and then you use magicplan to say, okay, that's the current situation. That's probably like what I would refer to as like this initial scope. But RB, I'm not sure I 100% answered your question there.
Okay, maybe we can wait a couple of seconds so to see if this was the question or if it was a different question. So, as we mentioned, if you guys would like to join the waiting list for the brand new, let's say, aspect or revolution of magicplan and to test it, I will put the link under the live video once we're finished. So you can just click the link and land to this page. This is at the bottom of the page, but you can also click just join the waiting list and you can join it, of course. Okay, I see that we have no other questions for now. So I guess that we answered everything. If you have some other questions, you have the last seconds here. Okay, Jennifer answered to RB. I've used it for SBL drawings to submit with permit applications. Perfect.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I mean, that is a feedback we frequently get, that magicplan drawings by a lot of councils are fully acceptable for permit applications. I mean, yeah. In many cases, this is absolutely sufficient. That's something that we have understood and read repeatedly.
Perfect. And RB says, awesome. Okay, perfect. Now, cool. We answered all the questions. We, let's say, unveiled this new, let's say, app that is going to be live soon. If you have any questions, as we said before, you can always contact us at support@magicplan.app. We will be more than happy to answer everything. Don't be shy. Okay, so we have Shannon. Thanks. I'm excited to use your product. Thank you.
Thank you for your questions and your time tuning in, and speak to you soon.
Yes, Andreas, thank you also for your time. And we will see each other, well, me, not Andreas, but next week with a new live video. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.